let's hop back into the examples to get a little bit further on past past general calling of LLM. So we're going to go on to this prompt engineering. There's a couple things that you'll notice. One is I just hard coded a bunch of prompts. That's not how a real system would work. Somehow I need to make that dynamic. Also, there's sort of, this is a one shot thing and nothing is interactive or happening on the fly. So here we're going to deal with a couple of those issues. The first one of those is what is generally referred to as prompt templating. So uh, there's a variety of inputs that you might get from a user. Like, let's say that you are creating a customer support bot, right? And the user asks some questions. Well, you want to answer those questions maybe based on the policies of your company or based on the previous responses that were good or something like that. So likely what you want to have is some sort of template under the hood that's like this. So let me just word wrap here. So you want to have probably something like, hey, read the context below and answer the question. If the question can't be answered based on the context, then explicitly say, sorry, I can't answer this question. So then you have a template like this that allows you to inject a certain context on the fly and a certain user question. And this then gives you a scaffolding for responding, which kind of reins in how the model is going to respond. It gives you a chance to inject your own data to ground the response, but you still have but you can still insert the user question. So again, this most of the time happens behind the scenes of AI systems, where you have some templates or a set of templates like this for different purposes, for summary or for certain types of data or for certain operations. And you're managing a set of prompt templates that you update on the fly. So here I've got that prompt template, and now I'm going to, instead of providing just a query, I'm going to provide, or just a prompt, I'm going to prompt template that with a certain context. And the context I'm going to use is this one. This is just a case study that I pulled from golang.org from Capital One. Do we have any people from Capital One on? I stole your case story from golang.org. It's public. Hopefully that's fair use. So I have this context in this text file. And then I'm going to, oops, that's the wrong one. Let me just go back here. There we go. I'm going to read in that text file. I'm going to provide that as the context for the question answering, and then give it the query. And so when I run this now, I can say, when did we add an additional endpoint to the API? And in fact, this talks about adding an additional endpoint to the API in mid-2016. So let's see if now this is able to answer given the prompt template. All right, cool. We added an additional endpoint to the API in mid-2016. So let's just modify this and see. Let's say, how did Go help us? Go help the team at Capital One in several ways, in fact, and very, very great ways, I'm sure. So this is prompt templating. That's a great tool that you should use. Most of the time, you're going to have many of these prompt templates that you can pull on for various scenarios. But also, you might want to have different sets of context that you ask questions over. So here I've got the same case study, and then I've got something from the Arden Labs blog about getting friendly with CPU caches, which sounds like fun. So again, similar type input, except this time I'm just providing the file that I want to ask questions over. as a command line argument, and then I'm setting up a loop to get input from the terminal. So let's try context one, which I think is still the capital one blog. So I'd say, when did we release our new API endpoint? Okay. Apparently it didn't find it that time. Let me just, I think it talks about, it talked about, didn't talk about release actually. So that's probably good. When did we add our new API endpoint? So there, and then like, how did Go help us? Cool. So there you go. And that provides over that context. And then we can go switch context now and say, what is L1 cache? And so here it talks about the L1 cache. Okay, so that gives us, so up to this point now we've done a small bit of prompt engineering to get a proper question answering template in place here. And we've at least templated out that we can use different contexts to answer questions on the fly.